we begin in Los Angeles, where a nighttime curfew is now in effect. More than 5 nights into the protests we've seen there, police say they've initiated mass arrests of those refusing to clear out of the curfew zone. We're still waiting to find out exactly how many people were detained in this latest round. The curfew covering only a small section of America's second largest city, just 1 square mile in downtown LA, affecting roughly about 100,000 of the city's roughly 4 million residents. Meanwhile, California's Governor Gavin Newsom has lashed out at the U.S. president over his decision to send thousands of National Guard troops and stage hundreds of Marines in L.A. in response to the protests over escalating immigration raids.
Donald Trump's government isn't protecting our communities. They're traumatizing our communities. Authoritarian regimes begin by targeting people who are least able to defend themselves, but they do not stop there. Trump and his loyalists, they thrive on division because it allows them to take more power and exert even more control. And by the way, Trump, he's not opposed to lawlessness and violence as long as it serves him. What more evidence do we need than January 6th? Trump is pulling a military dragnet all across Los Angeles, well beyond his stated intent to just go after violent and serious criminals. His agents are arresting dishwashers, gardeners, day laborers, and seamstresses. That's just weakness masquerading as strength.
You heard just the latest notable comments from the governor after this heated back and forth that with no end in sight between the two leaders. President Trump on his side, he's claimed that if not for his actions, LA would have burned to the ground, he claims.
I want to applaud the courage and the strength of the incredible troops who are right now standing guard to protect federal property and personnel and uphold the supremacy of federal law. That's what they're doing. They're protecting our ICE agents. They're protecting the police in Los Angeles.
The state of California has sued the Trump administration over the troop deployment. On Tuesday, a judge denied the state's request to immediately stop the mobilization and then set a hearing for Thursday. Meanwhile, the current curfew will last another 4 hours until 6 a.m. local time. But the mayor says it's likely to kick in again at nightfall and could last several days, she says.
The city of Los Angeles is a massive area, 502 square miles. The area of downtown where the curfew will take place is 1 square mile. I think it is important to point this out, not to minimize the vandalism and violence that has taken place there. It has been significant, but it is extremely important to know that what is happening in this 1 square mile is not affecting the city. Some of the imagery of the protests and the violence gives the appearance as though this is a citywide crisis, and it is not.
An important reminder, despite what we're hearing from President Trump, the impact on LA has been relatively small and concentrated. CNN's Nick Watt was reporting from downtown LA when the curfew went into effect. Here's what he saw.
The police did take their time moving through. They didn't just slam in and start arresting people. They moved pretty slowly. They gave people every opportunity to get out. Some people clearly decided not to, and those are the people that you're seeing right now being arrested by the LAPD. Note, LAPD, local law enforcement. We did have, for most of the evening, National Guard guarding this federal building right here. In the past 5 or 10 minutes, they have moved inside. This is now in the curfew zone. The LAPD is controlling the curfew zone. The National Guard has moved back inside. The mayor, LAPD, clearly wanting to take charge of this situation, not to see a repeat of what's happened over the past couple of nights, and also to make it clear that it's Los Angeles Police Department, not federal troops, that are here keeping this 1 mile square area safe. Listen, these protests have been very concentrated around this area. This is a 500 square mile city. The curfew is 1 square mile. The mayor making it very clear in opposition to President Trump that Los Angeles is not all burning. This whole city is not up in flames and not being held together by the National Guard. They want to make that clear. This has been a very isolated protest. And this afternoon, maybe 200 people outside the detention center. It was peaceful, people singing songs until that one spark that kicked everything off.
Stephanie, what are you seeing where you are?
Yeah, good morning, John. It's really worth noting that what happened yesterday started much earlier than what we've seen before, starting in the afternoon before that curfew went into effect at 8 p.m. local time. And there was definitely a change in tactic. It seemed like they were out there early, rounding up people. We know dozens of people at this point were arrested starting in the afternoon and going through to the evening. Take a listen to what Mayor Karen Bass had to say about the fact that they were going into a curfew and starting it so early, and it's still in effect right now. Take a listen to her.
My message to you is, if you do not live or work in downtown LA, avoid the area. Law enforcement will arrest individuals who break the curfew, and you will be prosecuted.
And they were shooting these rubber bullets like this. Yesterday, we just found this on the street out here where we are. And it wasn't just happening here in Los Angeles. It was also spreading to other parts of the region, Orange County and Santa Ana, and of course, spreading out into other cities around the country. But the other thing that's worth noting here, that there were some more ICE raids that happened north of us in Ventura County, in some of the farm communities there. We saw that they were arresting people, bringing them in, and detaining them under these ICE actions outside of Los Angeles. To that point, we have a statement that from Representative Salud Carvajal, is a Democrat from here in California. He said, in part, these raids are not about public safety. They are about stoking fear. These are not criminals being targeted. They are hardworking people and families who are an essential part of Ventura County. So as we've looked at yet a fifth day of protests and these clashes, I can tell you, getting out here overnight, John, that it is definitely a different tone. Things are shut down. You can see here that they have shut down access to and from the freeway as well, and they're probably going to keep it that through much of the morning. Back to you.
All right, Stephanie Elam in Los Angeles. Our thanks to Sarah Seidner as well. With us now, Jonathan Wackrow, CNN law enforcement analyst. So the curfew in effect, I think I'm bad at math, for another 2 hours or so on the ground in Los Angeles. What's your assessment of how it has worked and why, if it has been effective, it has been?
Well, good morning, John. And listen, implementing a curfew anytime that you have any type of civil unrest is just another tactical tool that law enforcement can use. And in this instance, that tactical tool of the curfew is really rooted in the city's emergency power, and all with the aim of restoring order. So the LAPD is using this right now to go from the passive position, the passive monitoring that they've been doing over the last 4 days, really into proactive enforcement. Once you start and have this area that is under curfew, again, that's a lawful order. That people who are actively engaged in activity within that area that are do not have a waiver to be in there, like working in the area or living in the area, they are actively ignoring lawful order. So it's easy for law enforcement to identify who is breaking the law and engage in this enforcement. It allows them to be more strategically deployed. Again, when you have the peaceful protesters now removed because they're abiding by the lawful order not to be there, law enforcement can now deploy strategically when movement is noted and the broader groups are limited. So again, this is a tactical tool really with the aim of preventing escalation of violence, looting, arson, etc. And I think that it is working.
One of the pictures we saw yesterday, and we saw it because ICE put it out, posted it on social media, was of National Guard troops in a perimeter around what appeared to be ICE agents conducting raids and arrests. That's not what you're looking at the screen right now. But we did see photos of National Guards at ICE apprehensions. If that continues, what will that look like or expands? And is that what you expect the Marines will be doing too?
Well, John, let me just take a quick step back here, because these protests, not just in LA, but across the country, are not in response to one single event. They're really triggered by this growing and broader opposition to what you're describing, these enhanced immigration actions and concerns of the militarization of immigration policy. But the challenge is for local law enforcement, whether it's in LA or New York or anywhere else, is that they're charged with maintaining the actual order, but they're not part of this operation. They're not part of this immigration discussion. So what you've created now is this operational disconnect between law enforcement, who's trying to de-escalate, but they're not part of this the political action. And these issues are far beyond their jurisdiction to actually resolve. So I am worried that that operational disconnect, as we see that action, John, is just going to widen.
And the Marines will be added into the mix as soon as today. Jonathan Wacrow, always great to talk to you. Thank you very much.